Well, somebody has to care about this. All right, what's up? Today I'm going to be making a tier list of all 88 reactions that are in Animal Crossing New Horizons. You're going to watch to forget about your problems, and it's going to be mutually beneficial, so let's do this. I'm going to be making these determinations based off of a couple factors. Firstly, how good the reaction is, something like how good it looks in a photo, how often you would use it, things like that. Second is going to be the little icon, because these are important. And third is going to be sound. Starting right off with greetings, which is a classic. It's something that we use all the time back whenever Nookazon was still being used a lot. That's essentially how you wave to somebody and tell them hello when you get to their island. For that reason, I mean, it's an original. You can't really live without it. It's got to be S tier. I also really love the little sound that it makes whenever you hit the button, the little ding or sparkle sound. That is just very satisfying to hear. So that is definitely staying in S tier. Agreement, I'm going to lump this one in also with disagreement and do them both at the same time. I think that they are necessary, however, I don't think that they're great. There's no sound that goes with them. The icons are a little boring. I do like the two different colors, but I don't know, these just aren't that great. I'm going to put them in B tier simply because I think that you should have them, so I wouldn't want to see them gone, but I typically don't use these. Pleased is alright, however, it is just a version of greetings that does not have the arm go up and wave. There's not really anything wrong with it, but it's just, I can't imagine using this when there are so many other better reactions, so I think for that, I'm going to go ahead and put it in C. I feel kind of the same way about happiness, however, this one is one that sticks for a long time, so there's kind of two different reaction types, one that will do something and then go back to your default idle animation, and then one that will stay going until you, like, stop the reaction. So happiness is a good one for, like, if you're trying to take an Instagram picture or something, you don't have to consistently hit that button and try to time it right. This stays pretty normal. So I think for that, I'm going to put it up to B. Normally it would be in C, but the fact that it stays there is a plus. Joy is essentially the better version of happiness. It adds some animations, which is always great. I do like the icon. The two different colors are pretty cool. I think that's going to have to go into A tier because I would find myself using that mostly for like a happiness type reaction as opposed to any of the other ones. It also gets some bonus points for being constant and you don't have to click it again and again, so that is definitely a plus. Joy does seem kind of similar to happiness, but I do think that it can kind of double as your character singing, which is very good if you have maybe like a microphone set up somewhere and you want to look like you're singing along with your villagers. So I think for that reason, and since we don't already have a singing one, I'm going to put it in A tier for now. I was thinking S tier, but I don't know. Well, you know what, I'm going to put it in S tier because I do think that there are more applications than just one. I wish that it had the cat villager singing as the icon as opposed to just music notes, but that does make it a lot easier to decipher whenever you're looking through the reaction list, which is a plus. Laughter. I would love for this one to be very high up, however, I do have some issues with it. For some reason, your character does not continue to laugh. They laugh for a couple seconds and then just kind of stand there and make the pleased reaction, which is really lame because I would love for my character to be able to like constantly laugh. For that, I'm gonna have to put it in B tier. I really would love for it to be higher, and it could easily be like an A or S tier if your character was just laughing constantly. It doesn't even have to have the little yellow marks that pop off. Even if your character was just making that head movement, I think it would still be higher, but as it stands right now, this is just an okay reaction. Love is a pretty unique one, and it's the only one of its kind that would portray the certain type of reaction, and so I do feel a little bit bad with putting it in C. However, the heart goes away almost immediately, which is the whole point of the reaction, and your character just kind of stands there. He still looks maybe like he's in love, but I don't know. I would love to see the heart stay on there for a little bit longer. That would probably make it a little bit better. Confident is pretty cool. It leaves you with a pose that you can't really get from any other reactions, and so I think that inherently gives it a little bit more value. I also think it's just an interesting reaction in and of itself. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in A tier. I don't know how many situations you would really be using this in, but I do like the way that it looks. Now, showmanship. Let me tell you, the first time that I saw Marshall use this reaction and then he gave it to me, it was life-changing. This is one of the funniest looking reactions, especially from like smug villagers and things like that. The pose that you're left with, the little like sparkle that comes off the side of your face, it's great. Flourish is also definitely going to have to be S tier. Your character fully spins around, there's stars, there's a crazy pose at the end. This is one of the best reactions in the game. Now, in terms of applicability, I don't really know, but I find myself sometimes just using this just because it looks cool. If people were this passionate about like real problems, the world would probably be a better place. Pride is also pretty cool. I don't like the fact that the icon does not match with what you actually do. Like the colors of those little sparkles are red, but then in the actual animation, they're yellow. I actually wouldn't have minded seeing them be red. I guess it kind of flickers in and out of red to yellow, but the red is very light in color. I could see this being used fairly often. I think I'm going to put it in A just because it's fine. It doesn't do anything crazy like the ones up at the top. I guess, honestly, I'm probably going to move Glee or whatever the singing one was down a little bit. I don't think it really fares well with these up here at the top. Encouraging is a very good one. I'm going to go ahead and throw it straight in A tier because of a couple reasons. One, I like that the little extra lines stay there forever. This seems like one of the reactions where those would go away and then your character would just be kind of leaning forward, which might honestly be kind of cool because your character kind of look like they're bowing a little bit, though there is a bow reaction. But I think this is a good one. I could see this being used a lot to show excitement or something like that. Delight, I mean, what else are you going to do? You got to clap throughout this game. It seems a little aggressive to me, but the clapping is good. It's going to go in A tier, I think. It's usable. It's something that is nice to use, but I don't think that I should put all the way in S tier. Apologetic is fun. I don't see myself using it that much, but the fact that your character kind of bows a little bit is nice. I think I need to put it in B tier. I don't see it being an A tier just because when are you going to use this? Like, who are you being apologetic to? I'm sure there are situations, but I just don't see it being higher than B tier. Bewilderment gets points because the icon very much matches what your character is doing. Like, if I really wanted to use this reaction, then I'd be able to find it pretty quick. However, what am I going to use this reaction for? I'm going to put it in C tier. I don't think it's a D tier. I don't know if D tier is even going to get anything in it, but I just don't really like the way that this one makes your character look. Curiosity is pretty much a classic. The sound is pretty cool and very iconic for even the characters in the game, like when you're interacting with other characters. I'm going to go ahead and put it in A tier because I typically don't use it that much, though it is used quite frequently throughout the game. I don't know if that makes it a good reaction necessarily, but I think A tier is a nice spot for it. Now, surprise is one that I find myself using pretty often. I love the exclamation point that pops up, and the face that's left is like a better version of bewilderment, except your character isn't like hunched over like a creep. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in S tier just because I do like it better than the question mark one. So I think that deserves S tier. Amazed definitely had potential. However, it misses the mark with pretty much everything. Even the icon face does not look that amazed. It looks more shocked than anything and kind of surprised that somebody, I don't know, like took off their shirt in the middle of a restaurant or something. It really misses the mark. This person does not look like amazed, like, wow, this is crazy. This person looks like, oh my God, somebody just freaked out in the middle of a store. I'm gonna have to put it in D tier. If we just turned that frown upside down and made this look like happier but surprised, it would work so much better. But as it stands, this does not say amazed to me. Inspiration is pretty fun. I'm gonna have to put it in B tier though, because the light bulb does go away pretty quickly. I would love for that to stay up there the whole time. I think a lot of these reactions could have their little icons stay up there for a long time, because if not, you're either gonna have to spam it so that people see it, or if you're trying to take a photo, you're gonna have to time it correctly. It's not great, and the reaction that you're left with just doesn't really scream inspiration to me. You kind of need that light bulb to show it off. But I do kind of like the icon though. There wasn't really any way that they could have had that along with the cat. So once again, that's something that's pretty readable if you are trying to find that quickly. Shocked is no doubt an S tier, mostly for the sound. That piano sting is great. It's very reminiscent of whenever you walk into your room and you see that there's a cockroach, but anytime that a villager gets shocked, it just really makes you laugh. The whole thing around the head, the icon is great, the sound is great. It's easily needing S tier. Mistaken is one that I like a lot. However, I don't really see myself using it that much. I really love the way that the star falls and hits the head. I think that's a unique way of showing that you're mistaken. I'm gonna put it in A tier just because it's not something that I would use and think that it's perfect. It's very situational, I would think, but it is a very cool reaction by itself. Bashfulness is very good, and it's one that does something that I think some other reactions need to do, which is keep like a filter on the face. You can see that there's like pink on the cheek showing that you're bashful. There are other ones that I think should keep the color on the face, which don't, and I don't know why. For that, I'm going to throw it in A tier. There are going to be a couple other ones that we'll see shortly that just don't do that for some reason, so they're going to rank a little bit lower. But bashfulness works for what it is. It does what it needs to, and the icon is pretty simple. Shyness originally was going to be a B tier. However, I don't like this icon. It's making me nervous, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put it in C tier. Also, why are you shy? Who are you going to be shy around in this game? That makes me a little bit weird. Why are you shy around some animals? Sheepishness is odd because it makes you cross-eyed and it doesn't really like seem to evoke really any emotion. I don't know what emotion this is trying to show me. That's gonna go in D tier, to be honest with you, just because like, when would I ever use this? In what situation would I need to cross my eyes and just kind of like jiggle there? I don't know. I don't like this one. Smirking is not bad. It's not great. I'm gonna put it in B. I could see this being used, especially like with villagers, smug villagers especially. Smirking does make sense for them, but using it as a character, I don't know. It's got a fine sound, so I don't want to rank it any lower than B, but yeah, I don't know about this one. Now, mischievousness is something that I was kind of alluding to whenever I was talking about bashfulness, where something purple comes up on your face to show that you're being mischievous, and then it just kind of disappears. Now, this one is not that bad because you still definitely look very mischievous. There are other ones where it's like, yeah, I don't really know about this, but I think it works. I'm not going to rate it as high as bashfulness just because, like I said, it does go away. I think if it stayed on there and maybe even the star stayed there, I'd probably put it up higher in A tier, but for now it's just got to be B tier. Resignation is great. It's 100% used all the time for me. I mean, how would you not want your character to look this completely disinterested with everything? This is truly the best, like, I do not care icon. If you're going to use it, you show up to somebody else's island and they're just talking about something you don't care about, break this one out, they'll stop. It'll be great. Daydreaming is pretty cool. I don't know how often you'd use this, maybe in like Instagram pictures and things like that. I'm not a huge fan of the icon, however, I do love the fact that it keeps having the little thought bubbles on both sides of your head as opposed to just having your character like have that go away and then your character, yeah, it could still look like you're daydreaming, but I like the extra touch that the clouds stay coming back. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in A tier. I may have conditioned myself to like the thought reaction better than I should. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I think mainly because that is the indicator that a villager wants to leave. We've all been in a situation where we're trying to kick off an ugly villager and you just keep time hopping day after day until eventually you see that little thought bubble above their head and you know that they're about to leave. For that reason alone, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in S tier. Does it deserve it? Probably not, but I'm letting my judgment cloud this. Sleepy is also a really good one. Once again, I don't know when or where you would use this. However, seeing Timmy and Tommy do this in Nook's Cranny when it's getting late, I gotta put that in S tier as well, just because it is so cute whenever they're just standing there yawning. Like, my villager is probably never going to use that, but the fact that it's in the game and Timmy and Tommy do it whenever it turns late at night, it's gotta be S tier. Dozing is not bad, however, it is completely silent, which is odd. I would honestly like it if they maybe put like snoring noises or something like that. I do appreciate the fact that the bubbles continue popping off of your face, showing that you're asleep. I mean, if they didn't, it wouldn't really look like you're asleep. So I'm going to put it in B tier, I think. If maybe there was snoring or it was a little bit more involved or something, then this would be a little bit higher, but yeah, I don't know. Worry, unfortunately, is going to be a D tier because it has probably the worst icon. I don't know why the cat is so squished, and the actual reaction is not any better. It's just you cross-eyed staring forward. I mean, your character looks worried, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look pleasant. It's just an odd reaction all around. Sighing is not that bad of a reaction, however, it's not really one that you would use too much, and it is a little bit difficult to time that sigh correctly, especially if you're trying to set things up correctly or have a villager like walking by and you're trying to sigh at them or something when you're trying to take a picture. For that, I think I'm going to put it in C tier. I do like the icon, though it does look like you're smoking something and exhaling that, which might make it a little bit funnier, but I don't know. I think I'm going to have to put it in C tier for that. All right, so we're getting to the sad reactions, and sadness is one that's not too bad. However, there are better sadness reactions. I'm going to throw it in B tier just because it is pretty middle of the road. I like the way that it leaves your character. He does look quite disappointed, but it would be nice if maybe that purple stayed or something like that. I'm not sure, but it is a pretty nice reaction. Heartbreak. I like that this is sort of like two phases, I guess, where your character has the wide eyes like they're shocked and then just looks sad. I like that they went through that detail instead of just like having the heartbreak and then your character looks sad. So that little bit of extra detail I think is going to make it A tier, and it is a pretty readable one with that broken heart. So if you are trying to find that, it is good. And I could see this being used fairly often. Sorrow, in my opinion, is probably the best way to evoke a sadness reaction. It's over the top, which fits well with Animal Crossing. I'm gonna put it in S tier simply because like that is the sadness reaction. That's what you would use if you're disappointed or something like that. Nobody would use the little sadness reaction right here. They want to use the crying one. All right, well, I just watched the intense reaction. I'm gonna have to put it in S tier because this is hilarious. I mean, what situation would you use this in? Your character looks like they're trying to seduce you or something like that. It's not really intense. I also love the fact that the icon looks a little bit like that meme with like the fingers touching together. You guys know what I'm talking about, but that's funny. This is a pretty good reaction. Aggravation did have a lot of potential, but it runs into that problem like I had mentioned with mischievousness, where the anger look just kind of goes away almost immediately. The little tuft of red that covers your face and the like steam that comes off of your head just disappears instantly, and that takes away from it so much. I mean, it's showing up literally in the icon, but then it shows up for half a second whenever you do the reaction. I think that it should, I don't know, continuously like steam out of your head or even like from your ears. That might be kind of funny. There was a lot of missed potential here, so I'm gonna have to leave it in C tier. Cold Chill is one that I do find myself using fairly often, but I wish, like with a lot of these other ones, that the animation lasted a little bit longer. Even just your character standing there shivering does not last very long, and then your character's just standing there looking goofy. So I think if like the leaves and the wind and everything stayed for a little bit longer, it would be cool. I'm gonna leave it in B tier. I don't want to put it in C just because this is a really unique reaction, and I think it is interesting visually to look at, but it could be a lot higher if it just elongated that animation process. Distress is cute. I don't have any problem with it, but I don't really use it that much. I'm sure that there are situations where you would use it. I know your villagers use it whenever they see you getting chased by like wasps and things like that. So that is a pretty good use. I'm going to put it in A tier. I think it could probably be higher if I could think of more uses, which I'm sure there are, but I'm thinking in terms of like going to someone else's island or taking Instagram photos or something like that. There's just, I can't imagine using this that much. Fearful is one that I actually like a lot. I think that it very easily could have fallen into the trap of like having your character just stand there, but the fact that your character shakes and is looking nervous is good, and the little like blue lines that go around your characters do stay there for a pretty decent amount of time, definitely longer than a lot of these other ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in A as well. I think it's a pretty good reaction. In what situation would I need to sneeze in Animal Crossing? You know what? I'm not going to leave it in D. I'm going to put it in C simply because that icon is so weird. And just the idea that they took up a slot of reaction with sneezing is funny. But like, when would I sneeze in this game? Scare and Haunt both came from like a Halloween update, and they are both really great reactions. One, I guess, feature that I like is that if you scare villagers either like on a mystery island or on your own island or something like that, they will either like get scared or they'll try to scare you back, which is really good. I'm gonna go ahead and put both of them in S tier because I honestly just think that they're both S tier. I'd probably rank Haunt as higher than Scare, but I do think that they're both deserving of the S tier, so I'm gonna leave them on the same one. Sit Down is one that people asked for a ton. Everybody really wanted to be able to hug their villagers and sit down next to their villagers. We never, of course, got hugging villagers, but sitting down next to your villagers is one that did happen. And for that, it's got to go in S tier. This was something that everybody really wanted, and it also has a practical application of being able to like block things from walking by. If you're visiting someone else's island and you sit down, people just can't pass by if you're sitting in like a 1x1 spot. So that is also pretty funny. Wave Goodbye could have been like an S tier thing. However, I am upset and annoyed with the fact that you only wave twice, so I'm putting it in C tier. Now, if your character just constantly waved, it would be S tier. It would be so good, but your character just waves twice and that's it. That sucks. That's so stupid. Take a Picture. So this one is one that I don't think anyone asked for, but it is one that is really unique and fun. I like the fact that you can actually see your Nook phone case. That's not something that really you see that often, especially if like you customize it to make it look good, really you would only see it when you're pulling out your phone, and even then you're not really looking at your phone. So I think this gives a good reason to see the customization that you put on your phone. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it is pretty good in that sense. I can't imagine using it that much, but maybe for Instagram photos, if you want to like have your character taking a photo of a build, like a little meta thing, that would be kind of cute. So I don't have any problem with this one. I think it deserves A tier. Sniff Sniff, that's a funny name. But I mean, what am I supposed to do with this? Who or what am I going to be sniffing? I'm gonna put it in B tier. I really do like the flower in the icon. I think that sells the whole sniffing thing pretty well. It makes it easy to find it at least, but yeah, I don't like the implications that this puts in. If you're really living on an island with all of these animals, I don't think you'd want to be sniffing that that deep. I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with workout. I think that there are some pretty cool ones within there. However, unfortunately, a lot of them are blocked by more boring ones. So if you want to get to the fun ones, like the whole like kind of twerking looking one, or the one where you look like you're dancing, then you have to get through a couple other ones where you're just kind of stretching. And I mean, really, who cares about that? I would love to put it high up in S tier. This one I think would work really well if all of these different animations were split up into their own reactions. But since they're all lumped in one, I'm just going to have to put it in B tier because I really don't feel like sitting through all of those reactions just to get to other ones. Even if it was just randomized or something, it would be better. But for now, it's unfortunately got to go in B tier. Yoga is actually a really good reaction. I think it's a good one for like whenever you're trying to stand kind of idly by. Maybe you're on someone else's island and you're like waiting in line. I'm imagining this like 2020, you know, whenever you would go to a Nookazan island or something and you're buying turnips, maybe you're waiting in line. I think this would be a good reaction for standing in line. It's pretty slow. It leaves a lot of time for the animation, and I like that your character like changes back and forth, so you really don't have to do anything or continue touching anything. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in, no, I'll put it in A tier. I don't think it's S tier, but I do think it is a really good reaction. Here You Go is fine. I'd probably put it in B tier just because what are the applications for this? I guess whenever you're like, if you're Willy Wonka trying to let the kids into the chocolate factory or something, then maybe I could see it working for something like that. But I don't know. I like that it leaves you with a little pose at the end of looking like you're about to go in for a hug. So that leaves a little bit of value. But yeah, I don't really know. Excited. Okay, I'm not really sure if I'm seeing that much as excited. To be honest, the way that this looks is like you're rubbing your hands together like a defibrillator and then you're like setting off sparks in your own brain. I don't get this one. It doesn't really look excited. I understand what they were going for, but I think I'm gonna have to put it in D tier just because it's like, it's weird. It just doesn't look very good. Tada no doubt has to get S tier. I think that the whole little like sparkles that come off your hands are really great, and especially with the whole like camera that can turn to the side now, it looks a lot better whenever you do see it from the side as opposed to just seeing it straight on. I think it's a little bit weird whenever it's straight on, but this is a really good reaction. Showering your villagers in sparkle, showing them off, it's great. It's a lot better than the excited one, that's for sure. Confetti is also a lot of fun. I like that you never run out of confetti. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in A tier just because it is fun. I don't see using this one quite as much, but it works in the sense of like a celebration type one, which is what a lot of these reactions in this pack came from. Viva, of course, is S tier. If you've never seen like Brewster doing that or something, or a lot of other villagers, just pretty much anybody doing this reaction, I mean, this is one of the best. It's gotta be S tier. Let's Go is oddly seductive, but it's funny. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think there are better like kind of idle dancing animations that we'll get to. I just don't really know what this is supposed to be used for. Like, are you trying to call somebody over? Why would you be jumping on one foot, like summoning them like that if you're trying to call someone over? I'm just not really sure what this would be used for. Also, the icon really just does not sell what it's trying to do. It would make more sense if it was like an arm, you know, waving towards yourself, but that looks more like a hug icon. Feeling It, in my opinion, is a better version of Let's Go. I'm gonna put it in A tier because I do find that that's a better like dance kind of idle animation. It's something, like I said, if you're standing in the line, it would make sense to have this go and your character just keeps going, keeps doing something, and you know, it's fun. It's a fine animation. Double Wave. Now, you probably thought that I was going to put this up high since I put a single wave in S tier. However, I got to put it low. Yeah, for some reason, this makes it look like your arms are breaking. It looks odd. I think it looks better on like the animal villagers, but for your own character, something just looks off about it for me. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that feels like this, but it doesn't look right in my eyes. Stretch. I'm gonna put this one in B tier. Actually, I put dozing. I'm gonna put this in C tier then, because I think dozing is a better way to show that you're tired. Like if you are trying to show that you're tired of something, maybe someone, like I said, is telling a long story. Stretching is not really gonna get the point across quite as well as dozing off. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. I don't think it's a bad reaction, but like you don't even look tired whenever you do it. You just stretch and then you're done, and then your character just goes back to the idle animation. It's not useful. Jammin' could have been better. I don't know why the icon has little musical notes, but then there's no musical notes whenever you do the reaction. I mean, that would make a lot more sense to have the musical notes when your character isn't moving. I don't think it would look too much like, this other one. I think that this would stand on its own with musical notes, but I don't know. It could rank a lot higher, but for now it's gotta stay C tier. Listening ears. What is this? Your character looks more like they're in a gladiators arena and they're saying, okay, send out your biggest lion or something like that. I don't see this being listening ears. Fortunately, I got to put it in D tier. I also don't like the way that it has like sound waves going into your ears to indicate that it is in fact listening ears. And another odd thing is that it seems like it's one that would last forever until you're done with the reaction, but then it just stops. It just goes for an abnormally long amount of time and then it just stops. Say cheese is not bad, but not great. There are a lot of reactions that kind of end off with roughly this pose. At least your character is moved a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't see this being like a say cheese type reaction where you're about to get your picture taken. So I'm going to put it in B tier. I don't think it's hurting anything. I guess I would rather have it than not have it, but yeah, I don't know about this one. Behold is a pretty good one. That's a reaction that you see a lot whenever like doors are being entered. You're like letting somebody in somewhere. So for that, I do see purpose. And if you do want to use this sometimes, like if you've got a lot of people over on your island and you're about to show them a nice little section in there, a really nice decorated section, I think this would work pretty well as like a, hey, come on in. For that, I would probably put it in A tier. Eager. This guy does not look excited in the slightest. This is gonna have to be C tier. I'm almost debating putting it in D tier, but I think I'm gonna leave it in C tier because like your character doesn't even open their mouth to show that they're happy. It's more just like, all right, I guess I'm eager now. Flex is hilarious. This is one that I have not used that much, but I wish that I would use it more because in what situation would you need to be flexing at somebody? I could see this being really funny with like guerrilla villagers. If you make them do that reaction, that's great. I love the fact that they even decided to put flexing in this game. It makes more sense than sneezing, I guess. So that's got to be S tier for me. Work It. So this one is another kind of like holdover from an animation that is already in the game, which I think is interesting. It's whenever your character is like trying on different clothes and Able Sisters or like your closet or something like that. I think it's fine that it's as a reaction. I don't see when you would be using it that much. Maybe if you're hosting like a fashion show. I know some people do that on their islands, like Twitch streamers will do fashion shows and things like that. So I don't think it's a bad reaction, but I just don't see too many regular people just using this. Act Natural is kind of the same, but worse somehow. I don't know why it's called Act Natural. The icon does not look natural. The poses don't look natural. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a joke where it's like, okay, act natural, and then they don't. But yeah, this is just an odd one, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and put it in C tier. Hula is pretty great. That's something, once again, that's a good idle animation. Just let your character do it while you're waiting for something. I would think maybe put it in S tier, but I think I'm gonna have to put it in A tier just because I don't think it reaches quite as high as all these other ones. It doesn't have quite as many applications, I would think. It works well for just sitting there and maybe if you're taking pictures on your beaches, but other than that, I think there are better idle reactions. Okay, I'm just gonna group all of the like group stretching ones together because they're all just kind of nothing. I'm gonna put them in B tier just because who cares? Like, what situation would I be using stretches for other than jumping, which is going in S tier because I like the fact that your character can jump. You also definitely lose a lot of the charm whenever you have to do group stretching for 50 days in a row to unlock these. Like, people get tired of it after the first day. I really don't want to do this 50 days in a row in order to just be able to jump on my island. Grooving Hop, I think probably has to go in S tier. That is a very iconic thing from Happy Home Paradise where, I guess spoiler alert if you haven't played this, like a year and a half old thing, maybe even 2 years at this point, but at the end whenever all the characters get together that you've designed houses for and they all just dance, I think that's probably the most fun reaction out of all of those. I think for that it's gotta be S tier just for how iconic it is. Groove Right and Groove Left, unfortunately, are going to have to be put in B tier. Normally, I would put them in A tier, if they were combined. I don't like that you would have to like switch back and forth between left and right. I think it would make more sense if it was just one thing called groove and your character did the little move on the right and then switched over and did the move on the left. It doesn't make sense that it's split up onto two different sides. It's just odd. Arm swing dance is pretty cool. It's a good dance reaction, so for that, I'll probably put it in A tier. I put it there with the other ones that I consider to be like good dance reactions, like this singing looking one. So I think A tier is a fine spot for it. Soak It In is kind of weird. It's not really anything, but I am a big fan of the icon. I love those multiple colors. It's kind of stands out amongst a lot of the other ones, especially some of the more boring looking ones that don't have any color. I would normally put it in C tier, but I think for the icon, I'm going to go ahead and put it in B tier. Side to Side probably gets a couple extra points for having your character change facial animations, which is cool. Instead of your character just standing back and forth, they close their eyes, open their mouth, close their mouth. So I'm still going to leave it in B tier. It's probably going to stay in B tier even if it does have that. So it's just a fine reaction. I don't see it being used that often. Island Stomp is cool, but I don't see myself using this much or what application you would have for this. It looks kind of dancey, but I'm going to put it in B tier because it doesn't, I don't think it lives up quite as well as the ones like the dancing ones in A tier. Airplane is going to have to go ahead and go straight to S tier. For some reason, it just looks right. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's just a good looking reaction. I think it's kind of funny that your character maybe looks a little bit drunk or off the vacation juice, who knows, but it's a good reaction. I'm a big fan of it. Shimmy is just like a worse version of Feeling It. I'm going to put it in C tier because why would I ever use this when Feeling It just puts so much more energy into things? It's just not as good. Turnip Patch is cute. Where did I put Island Stomp? It's going right next to Island Stomp. These two are essentially the same thing to me. Like, why would I use this? But it's a fine dance move, so sure, why not? Finally, we have Twisty Dance. I'm going to put that one in A tier. I don't think that one looks too bad. It at least seems like your character's having more fun than anything else. And there we go. That is all 88 reactions ranked. I bet you didn't even know there were 88 of them in the game. You've probably used like 5 of them. If you want to make a tier list for yourself, why? Do better things with your time. I'm getting paid for this. Why would you do it? But if you do, I will put the link in the description below. I also just realized this guy looks very excited, so that's funny. With all that out of the way, I do appreciate you checking this one out, and I will see you guys in the next one.